Hi there, with the grade 9 students. I am so glad to be with you. My hope is you're all ready. I am Teacher Christine, your English learning buddy. Always here to guide you, always here to inspire you. Make sure to wear that best smile of yours so we can have fun learning together. Prepare then your pen, notebook, answer sheet, and let's get this done. Let's assess your background knowledge through this pretest. The instructions are: carefully read each description of the criteria for judging. Select the best description by writing the letter of your correct answer for 1 to 8. For 9 to 15, write T if the statement is correct and F if otherwise. You are given 5 seconds to answer each number. You may start now. Don't forget to write your answers on your answer sheet.
1. The author should explain why the event, situation, or argument is still relevant today. A. Topic relevance. B. Speech value. C. Speech purpose. D. Speech main point. Two. The author has meaningful and original ideas. A. Topic relevance. B. Speech value. C. Speech purpose. D. Speech main point. 3. The way a speech is composed is determined by what the writer wants to tell the audience. A. Topic relevance. B. Speech value. C. Speech purpose. D. Speech main point. 4. The speech reflects an aspect of the writer's context, whether it is personal, social, historical, or environmental. A. Topic relevance. B. Speech value. C. Speech purpose. D. Speech main point. 5. This includes data, statistics, examples, and studies. This is also to recognize if the statements used by the speaker are factual or subjective. A. Evidence. B. Effectiveness. C. Clarity. D. Speech development. 6. Language should promote clear understanding of thoughts and should fit the occasion precisely. A. Evidence. B. Effectiveness. C. Clarity. D. Speech development. 7. The speech engages the audience and encourages them to consider the presenter's viewpoints. A. Evidence. B. Effectiveness. C. Clarity. D. Speech development. 8. It is the way the speaker puts ideas together so the audience can understand these. The response is structured around a purpose, and the structure must include an opening, body, and conclusion. A. Evidence. B. Effectiveness. C. Clarity. D. Speech development. Let's have the true or false part. 9. The first thing you want to pick up on any speech is the main idea that is being communicated. True or false? Ten. A standard rule on which judgment or decision can be based is called criteria. True or false? 11. Evidence is a proof that the author's reasoning or argument is valid. This includes data, statistics, examples, analogies, techniques, studies, and others. True or false? 12. A speech aims to inform, educate, and convince an audience to do something. True or false? 13. Speeches usually have an introduction, body, and conclusion. True or false? 14. We say that ideas in a written speech or text are relevant when the ideas presented are meaningful or purposeful in current society or culture. True or false? 15. An author's reasoning is sound if the explanations of the author include evidence from different sources. True or false? 'And that ends your pretest. Let's check your answers. These are the answers. 1. A. Topic relevance. 2. B. Speech value. 3. C. Speech purpose. 4. D. Speech main point. 5A. Evidence. 6B. Effectiveness. 7C. Clarity. 8D. Speech development. 9T. 10T. 11T. 12T. 13T. 14T. And 15T. How are your scores? Were you able to get all of them correctly? Well, if not, do not worry. We will be talking about these words, ideas, phrases that you've met in our discussion.
As a student, you are exposed to various written speeches like motivational or inspirational messages written and delivered by famous public speakers and writers. When you read these, do you try to determine the message that the writer wants to convey? Are there times that you doubt whether the ideas presented are relevant or the reasoning of the writer is sound? If you do, that is what we call as critical thinking. Much can be learned. So heading on to our starting point, you will answer the activity entitled Be the Judge. Imagine that you are invited to judge a singing and a dance contest. Write below the different criteria that will help you decide the winner. You may answer orally and share them to your family members.
Here is how you will do the activity. In the singing contest, a sample criterion is provided, which is vocal quality. Your task is to share 3 more. In the dance contest, the provided criterion is stage presence. Kindly share another 3. I will give you 5 seconds to think, after which share them with your family members. Thank you for your participation.
For a better understanding of our topic, make sure to listen, take down notes, and I promise this journey will be enlightening.
We begin our discussion by unlocking the meaning of relevance. On the screen, you can see here words like bearing upon, connected with, pertaining to, significance, appropriateness, importance, and connection. Were you thinking of the same words too? Great if you are. Now, how do we know that the writer's ideas are relevant? We can use the following tips to answer the question. We take into consideration first selection of information to be presented. We can ask the question, does the content match the expectation of what the article is all about? Another is the logical organization of information. Does it fit the expected sequence? Does the direction of the essay meet the expectation of what the article is all about? Furthermore, we can say that ideas in a written speech or text are relevant if these are meaningful and these are related or useful to what is happening or being talked about. So there you have it, class. You can use those 3 tips. To aid you in having a clearer picture, let's go through the criteria for judging relevance of ideas one by one. The first one is topic relevance, where the writer explains why the event or argument is still relevant today. In a question form, we can say, is the topic still relevant or important today? The second one is speech value. In here, the composer should say something meaningful and original that the listeners and readers feel the speaker has contributed to their thinking. Or we can just ask the question, was the content informative? Next is speech purpose. What we need to remember here is that the way a speech is composed is determined by what a composer wants to tell. And again, just answer the question, is the speaker's intention to inform and persuade made clear in the text? Lastly is speech main point. Oftentimes, speeches mirror the speaker's personal, social, historical, or environmental background. These we can use to help us know what key ideas are given focus. Here is a helpful question. Was the topic clearly stated? And did the speaker give focus to the key ideas?
With the criteria, there is no excuse anymore of not knowing relevance of ideas. The second question we need to answer is, what does it mean when the author's reasoning is sound? Come on, let's continue the journey.
An author's reasoning is sound if the explanations are backed up with different sources. Another, we should not forget that the reasoning must be logical. So the keywords here are different sources should be used and the reasoning should be logical. Now, if there is a criteria for judging relevance of ideas, so is judging soundness of author's reasoning. What are they? One is evidence. If there is a proof, we can say it is valid. What kind of proof are we looking for? Look at this question being flashed on the screen. It highlights data, statistics, examples, studies. All of these are what we are looking for as pieces of evidence. 2 is clarity. Remember, language used must be clear and it should fit the occasion precisely. In a question form, we can ask, was the language precise, grammatically correct, and clear? Next in the list is effectiveness. This criterion focuses on whether there is a sufficient use of logic, examples, or expert opinions to be considered effective. The last one is speech development, where ideas must be put together, centering on a purpose, and following the structure of writing a speech, which includes introduction, body, and conclusion.
How did you find our discussion? Was it helpful? Was it enlightening? If you confidently say yes, that is how we mean by being a critical thinker. Reading any literary text does not only end with reading or viewing alone. We need to analyze them for a more meaningful experience.
This time, let's assess whether you have understood our lesson on relevance of ideas and author's reasoning. The first task has something to do with climate change. You are asked to listen as I read to you a speech on climate change by Ms. Gina Lopez, the former Secretary of the Department of Natural Resources, when she went at a conference in Morocco on November 17, 2016. After listening, answer the questions that follow. By the way, you can always replay this part and listen to the reading again. Here is the speech. Greetings! The Philippines is a country of 7,000 islands, which is the highest endemicity per unit area in the planet. This means that 70% of the biodiversity found in the Philippines can only be found in our country. We have more than 3,000 species of marine life, some of which includes a snail, the venom of which has been found by a Nobel laureate to be better than morphine in addressing pain without the side effects. Our sponges and shells are effective in addressing cancer, and we are barely scratching the surface of what there is. This is not just the wealth of the Philippines. It is the wealth of all of us together. Should the planet escalate to more than 1.5 degrees, we lose all of that. The planet simply cannot afford an indecisive ambiguity about what needs to be done. The situation is clear. Anything more than 1.5 degrees will destroy possibilities for quality of life. We do not need to give up economic growth. From clean energy to sustainable transportation to all facets of life. We need to have the courage to change the way we do things. We cannot and must not build an economy based on suffering. At an increase of 0.8 degrees, we suffered Typhoon Haiyan, which is the worst storm surge in the planet's history, wherein more than 10,000 died. Ironic. So much to give, so much to lose. As the Secretary for the Environment, I say we will go heavily into mangroves because the islands with mangroves suffered 80% less damage in terms of lives and property. This thrust will not only save our islands, but will result in economic zones because of the resultant increase in fish, shrimps, and other sea life. If handled well, our people can get out of poverty. We will also plant bamboo, which is superb in carbon sequestration. But this bamboo can also build strong 6-story buildings, low-cost housing, floor tiles, textiles, clean our polluted waterways. In essence, adaptation, mitigation, inclusive economic growth does not have to be separate activities or choices. These objectives can all be achieved given the right approach. Because the Philippines is in the firing line of climate change, I propose that we be one venue for scientists as we explore ways for humanity to move forward. I propose a dynamic direction of facilitating climate change models on the ground that give the message, it can be done, and we can do it. There is an integration of life. Yesterday, I was in awe at dynamism and non-negotiable commitment of the leaders of the climate change movement. If we all imbibe this consciousness deep in our hearts and manifest it in ground-level reality, humanity faces a bright future if we continue to bloom the spirit of working together. The Philippines is making a commitment to this exciting future. Here are the activities. We begin with understanding the text. Choose the letter of the correct answer. Write your answers on your answer sheet. You are given 5 seconds to answer each question. Let's start. 1. Which best expresses the main idea of the second paragraph? A. Seashells and sponges will be gone soon. B. Humans are struggling against climate change. C. There are ways to overcome climate change. D. The Philippines is suffering from environmental problems. Two. Why does the speaker think that we should plant bamboos? A. Bamboos are a great source of oxygen. B. Bamboos are cheaper building materials. C. Bamboos serve as food for many animals. D. Bamboos should be preserved in the country. 3. Which best expresses the main idea of the 5th paragraph? A. The Philippines has forest fires due to climate change. B. Scientists are successful in solving climate change. C. Let us be one in solving the problem on climate change. D. We will overcome the fight against climate change. Four. Which is a reason given by the speaker on why saving mangroves can help our economy? A. Mangroves increase seedlings. B. Mangroves increase lumber production. C. Mangroves increase fishing area. D. Mangroves increase production of sea life. And the last question. Why does the speaker believe that it is dangerous when the Earth's temperature escalates? A. Climate change can kill plants and animals. B. Climate change can change the economy. C. Climate change can kill mangroves and bamboos. D. Climate change can cause typhoons. I'll give you another 5 seconds to finalize your answers. Ready? In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, stop answering. Let's check your answers. Here are the answers. 1. C. There are ways to overcome climate change. 2. B. Bamboos are cheaper building materials. 3. C. Let us be one in solving the problem on climate change. 4. D. Mangroves increase production of sea life. And 5. D. Climate change can cause typhoons. And that ends understanding the text. Were you able to get all of the answers correctly? Great job! If you did. Here are the instructions for Activity B, Judging the Relevance of Ideas. And Activity C, Judging the Author's Reasoning. Listen carefully as I read them to you. 1. Answer the questions. 2. Pause the video when you start answering. 3. Write answers on your answer sheet. 4. I will be the one to check your answers on these parts. And lastly, do not forget to hit the play button when you are done answering. Here are the questions for judging the relevance of ideas. 1. Is the topic still relevant or important today? Why? 2. Was the content informative? What specific information did you learn? 3. Cite some texts from the speech where the speaker tried to inform and persuade the audience. Lastly, identify the main point of the speech and briefly explain how it was supported. Again, you can always pause this video for you to have more time in answering the questions. The last activity is judging the author's reasoning. Our focus here is to bring out the soundness of the author's reasoning. How are we going to do that? Let us be guided by the following questions. The first question: what are the pieces of evidence, like data, statistics, research, used by the speaker to prove her point? What you're going to do here is to go over the speech and look for the following pieces of evidence. Just copy if you find one. The second question is, what are the examples and opinions used by the speaker to prove her point? Again, go over the speech and look for examples and opinions used by the speaker. Copy them if there are. Third question. Was the language precise, grammatically correct, and clear? Briefly explain your answer. Your answers here can be yes or no. Whether it is yes or no, you have to write a short explanation. The last question is, was there a logical development of ideas from the opening, body, and conclusion? Again, if your answer is yes, write a short explanation. If your answer is no, write a short explanation. Do not forget to pause this video for you to be able to answer the 4 questions. Play it again if you are done answering. Good luck!
Can you still remember some important details about relevance and soundness of reasoning? Refer again to your answer sheet and start writing the different criteria on how to judge the contents of a written speech.
This table is what you can see on your answer sheet. You are tasked to write the different criteria on how to judge relevance of ideas and how to judge soundness of author's reasoning. You are given 10 seconds to answer. You may start now. Let's check your answers. Criteria in judging relevance of ideas. We have topic relevance, speech value, speech purpose, and speech main point. Criteria in judging the soundness of author's reasoning. We have evidence, clarity, effectiveness, speech development. So, did you get a perfect score? Very good.
With all the key takeaways you got, you need to be able to apply them. How? Well, listen carefully as I explain your performance task.
Your performance task has something to do with cyberbullying. This time, we will read together the speech. Afterwards, you will analyze the relevance and soundness by completing the graphic organizer on your answer sheet. Are you ready? Let's start reading. Speech on cyberbullying. Technology has much to contribute to the present lifestyle of ours. The adaptive practices of keeping ourselves connected with the social media have their own charm. We as an individual feel much closer and connected to our far as well as near friends through the social media. Sometimes the list of our acquaintances on social media stretches to even those who have never been introduced to us in the practical world. This zest of having virtual friends has its own pros. We feel more comfortable and free with a person who has not any prejudgment for us. This makes us vulnerable to rely more on them in sharing our deepest secrets sometimes. With every good thing, there comes a loss. And with the increase in networking, people are more prone to be a victim of cyberbullying. 8 out of 10 cyberbullying cases are registered in every 5 minutes. This easily depicts the high rate of increase of cyberbullying cases in today's time. To know more about it, we should first get a fair idea of what is cyberbullying and what all activities or acts fall under this category. However, with the increase in awareness, people are becoming more conscious on social media and are using preventive measures to avoid such situations, but still, the evils of cyberbullying are expanding its roots and are entitled to do the damage to a great extent. If we talk about legal actions that are taken against any such incidents, then we have a list of strict punishments that are strictly executed in case of any case registered. But apart from punishments, we as a responsible citizen should be strong enough to prevent such instances to occur. Today, I am discussing a few of the preventive measures that could surely help you to prevent yourself as well as other people near you to stop this parasite of cyberbullying. First, don't respond to any such initiation. Ignorance is bliss in such cases. Then don't retaliate to any advances, for it will ultimately bring the impression that you are not bothered by such things. Next, save the evidence to report them further if it doesn't end. Talk to your trusted adult and take his advice for the same. Also, block the bully to avoid any such interactions. Finally, be a friend, not a bystander for someone who needs your support to stop this bullying. I appeal to all the social media users to use this media to get involved socially with people, not to let anyone down for one or the second reason. These are the instructions of your performance task speech on cyberbullying. 1. Judge relevance of ideas or author's reasoning in the speech by completing the table on your answer sheet. Remember, I will be the one to check your answers. Let's go over the checklist on relevance of ideas. First, is the topic still relevant or important today? Second, was the content informative? Third, is the speaker's intention to inform and persuade made clear in the text? Fourth, was the topic clearly stated and did the speaker give focus to the key ideas? Yes or no? And the last question, were the ideas presented in the speech relevant? Explain your answer in 2 to 3 sentences. Kindly pause the video when you start answering. Let's take a look at the checklist for author's reasoning. 1. Was there sufficient use of evidence like data, statistics, and examples? 2. Was the language precise, grammatically correct, and clear? 3. Was there sufficient use of logic, facts, examples, or expert opinion? Pause the video if you start answering. Let's continue the checklist on author's reasoning. Fourth, was there a logical progression of ideas from the opening, body, and conclusion? And the last question, were the reasons presented by the speaker sound and logical? Explain your answer in 2 to 3 sentences. Kindly pause the video if you start answering. Let's now proceed to your post-test. Here are the instructions. 1. Select the best description by writing the letter of your correct answer for 1 to 8. 2. For 9 to 15, write T if the statement is correct and F if otherwise. Ready? Let's start. 1. The author should explain why the event, situation, or argument is still relevant today. A. Topic relevance. B. Speech value. C. Speech purpose. D. Speech main point. Two. The author has meaningful and original ideas. A. Topic relevance. B. Speech value. C. Speech purpose. D. Speech main point. 3. The way a speech is composed is determined by what the writer wants to tell the audience. A. Topic relevance. B. Speech value. C. Speech purpose. D. Speech main point. 4. The speech reflects an aspect of the writer's context, whether it is personal, social, historical, or environmental. A. Topic relevance. B. Speech value. C. Speech purpose. D. Speech main point. 5. This includes data, statistics, examples, and studies. This is also to recognize if the statements used by the speaker are factual or subjective. A. Evidence. B. Effectiveness. C. Clarity. D. Speech development. 6. Language should promote clear understanding of thoughts and should fit the occasion precisely. A. Evidence. B. Effectiveness. C. Clarity. D. Speech development. 7. The speech engages the audience and encourages them to consider the presenter's viewpoints. A. Evidence. B. Effectiveness. C. Clarity. D. Speech development. 8. It is the way the speaker puts ideas together so the audience can understand these. The response is structured around a purpose, and the structure must include an opening, body, and conclusion. A. Evidence. B. Effectiveness. C. Clarity. D. Speech development. Let's have the true or false part. 9. The first thing you want to pick up on any speech is the main idea that is being communicated. True or false? 10. A standard rule on which a judgment or decision can be based is called criteria. True or false? 11. Evidence is a proof that the author's reasoning or argument is valid. This includes data, statistics, examples, analogies, techniques, studies, and others. True or false? 12. A speech aims to inform, educate, and convince an audience to do something. True or false? 13. Speeches usually have an introduction, body, and conclusion. True or false? 14. We say that ideas in a written speech or text are relevant when the ideas presented are meaningful or purposeful in current society or culture. True or false? And 15. An author's reasoning is sound if the explanations of the author include evidence from different sources. True or false? Let's check your answers. These are the answers. 1. A. Topic relevance. 2. B. Speech value. 3. C. Speech purpose. 4. D. Speech main point. 5A. Evidence. 6B. Effectiveness. 7C. Clarity. 8D. Speech development. 9T. 10T. 11T. 12T. 13T. 14T. and 15T. How are your scores now compared with your scores in the pre-test? Did it improve? If yes, congratulate yourselves. If no, you can always go back and do the activities again.
I couldn't believe we have reached the end. Well done, learners. I hope you had an amazing time. Keep that smile, and I'll see you again next time, only here at DepEd MP TV.